When was the last time you saw a Western movie in theaters? For a long time, Westerns simply dominated Hollywood, and between the 40s and 60s, as much as 140 Westerns were being produced per year. But nowadays, there don't seem to be any big budget Western productions at all. Why is that? What caused the decline of one of Bollywood's most profitable and influential genres? Well, to answer that, we first have to take a look at what made the Western so popular in the first place. Well, to start off, the Western was simply the exclusively American genre. It was the one type of movie that was deeply rooted in American history and culture. The themes of American expansion, manifest destiny, and righteous masculine heroes saving the day with a gun. All of those deeply resonated with, first and foremost, US American audiences. Also, the imagery and tropes of the classic westerns were already familiar to a lot of audiences through novels, magazines, and later on comic books as well. Not only that, but one of the very first narrative short films ever made, The Great Train Robbery, was Western. Therefore, the genre has been a staple of cinema quite literally since its inception. Add those to the often simple good versus evil stories being told, and it comes as no surprise that the movies of John Ford, Howard Hawks, and the like found broad appeal. Before we continue, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to see more essays, reviews, rankings, and all that good stuff. I'm trying to reach 1000 subscribers by the end of the year, and you can be a massive help right now by pressing those two buttons and enabling notifications. Towards the 1960s though, audience preferences started to shift and the Western saw its first major dip in popularity. Especially in light of the ongoing Vietnam War, notions of patriotism and the American way, as they were often included in those classic Western stories, were started to be questioned by an increasing number of people. Also, word came out more and more, and this might shock you, glorifying racism and genocide is in fact not very cool. The classic Western trope of the evil, simplistic Native American standing in the way of the white, upright citizen fell out of fashion, and very rightfully so. This contributed to the rise of the so-called revisionist Western, at the forefront of which stood Italian filmmaker Sergio Leone with his Dollar Trilogy or Once Upon a Time in the West. The revisionist Western aimed to subvert and question many of the ideas presented in classic Western stories. So, its hallmarks were morally great characters, anti-heroes, sympathetic villains, and a more nuanced look on violence and its effects. Some of them even featured a Native American hero as the protagonist, but despite maybe having good intentions, those were often still pretty racist, as they had white actors portray the roles of natives and also tended to deeply misrepresent their culture. Anyways, while the revisionist Western did manage to breathe some life back into the genre and was pretty popular for a while, it still couldn't manage to keep the Western alive in the long run, and by the time of the 90s, the 140 movies being produced per year between the 40s and 60s had now turned into 140 movies being produced in one entire decade. Since then, this number has only continued to go down. Sure, there have been some successful outliers like 3:10 to Yuma, No Country for Old Men, or Django Unchained, but what might be more important for studios are the massive flops of recent decades. Cowboys and Aliens lost about $80 million, The Lone Ranger had a massive budget of about $250 million, not including marketing costs, and lost the studio up to $190 million, both due to their massively disappointing performance at the box office. John Carter, a sci-fi movie with Western elements, is infamous for being one of the biggest flops in cinema history, with it costing over $300 million to produce and then losing Disney about $265 million. With these numbers in mind, it kind of comes as no surprise that studios think of westerns as too big of a risk to take. Another factor contributing to the downfall of westerns in our day and age is the ever-growing importance of international markets, especially China, as they now make up a big portion of a movie's revenue. As I said earlier, westerns are the American genre, and while that certainly helps with audiences inside of the US, it might have the opposite effect abroad. Pair all of that with the surprisingly high cost of producing a western, and you have a whole bunch of reasons why studios nowadays are simply too scared to greenlight another big budget western production. Sure, every now and then there will probably always be a good western to be enjoyed on the big screen, but for now, westerns seem pretty dead. But who knows, maybe all it takes is one really successful movie to put the genre back into its saddle. What do you think? Is it time for the big western comeback, or have these movies lost their place in the modern Hollywood landscape? Let me know in the comments below, and also don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you can also follow me on Letterboxd, the link is in the description. Have a great time and see you in the next one.